There once was a monastery, and the friars wanted to get a new bell for the bell tower. To raise the money to get the bell, the friars decided they'd open up a flower shop. Well, once word got out that the friars were going to grow some flowers and sell them, everybody wanted to buy the friars' flowers. So they had a great business going, lots of money, able to buy the bell. Well, the other florists in the area were not very happy because they were losing business, and they sent a warning to the friars telling them since they had their bell, it was time to close their flower shop, and if they wouldn't do it, they might have to pay the consequences. Well, the friars ignored the warning. Who's going to be up friars, huh? So the rival flower shops, they hired Hugh McTavish, the roughest and most vicious thug in town, to persuade the friars to close. Well, Hugh went and he beat up the friars, trashed the whole store, and said to them that if they wouldn't close, he'd have to come back and emphasize the fact that they were to close. Terrified, they did so, thereby proving that Hugh and Hugh only can prevent florist friars. All right. We'll keep going without the rim shot. Anyway, on January 7th, 2016, Matthew McConaughey gave a classic motivational speech at University of Richmond, and the speech included this passage. He said, "So I'm going to talk to you about some things I've learned in my journey. Most from experience, some of them I heard in passing, and many of them I still am practicing. But all of them I do believe are true. Now they may be true to me, but don't think that makes them mine, because you can't own the truth. So please think of these as signposts, approaches, paradigms that give some science to satisfaction. They're yours to steal. They're yours to share, liken to our lives. Personally, apply to your own lives however you want to do it. So here we go. Number one, life is not easy. It is not. Don't try to make it that way. Life is not fair. It never was, it isn't now, and it never will be. Don't fall into the trap, the entitlement trap, of feeling like you're a victim. You are not. Get over it, get on with it. And yes, most things are more rewarding when you break a sweat to get them. That's how the disciples must have felt. Life is unfair. The Sadducees and the Pharisees were the privileged class. They had the best seats at the banquets. People paid attention to them. The disciples stood on the outside looking in and longed for what these people had. No wonder they were discussing who among them would be the greatest. When Jesus came into his kingdom, which among them would sit at his right hand and which would sit at his left? A little girl got into the car after Sunday school and said, all excited like, "Mom and Dad, we learned that God made everything, the heavens and the earth and everything." And as they were nodding in agreement, she added, "And he did it all with his left hand." Taken aback, the mother said, "Oh, really? Only with his left hand, you say?" The little girl said, "Yes, Mother, yes, you know this, because Jesus was sitting on his right hand." Maybe at first the disciples were innocently discussing how the kingdom would come about and what role they would play in this new kingdom. But the innocent talk got out of hand, and then again maybe the power of their newfound position went to their heads. Whatever the case, Jesus asked them what they were arguing about. The The look in his eyes told them that he already knew. So he taught them about servanthood. A lion lay asleep in the forest, his great head resting on his paws. Timid little mouse came upon him unexpectedly, and in her fright and haste to get away, it ran right across the lion's nose. Right across the lion's nose. Not a good plan, by the way. Roused from his nap, the lion laid his big paw angrily on the little tiny creature to kill her. "Spare me," begged the little mouse. "Please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you." The lion was much amused to think that a little tiny mouse could ever help him out, but he was generous and finally let the mouse go. Well, some days later, while stalking his prey in the forest, the lion got caught in the toils of a hunter's net. Unable to free himself, he filled the forest with his angry roar. The mouse knew that voice and quickly found the lion struggling in the net. Running to one of the great ropes that bound him, she gnawed at it until it parted, and soon the lion was free. "You laughed when I said I would repay you," said the mouse. "Now you see that even a little tiny mouse can help a mighty lion." Love and kindness are never wasted. Whoever wants to be let's try that again. Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all. That's what Jesus said. Now, he didn't berate or belittle the disciples. Instead, he took a little child in his arms. A child is a classic example of powerlessness. A child can't reward you, they can't repay you. And Jesus held this child in his lap, and he said, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes not just me, but the one who sent me." His message made their argument about greatness as meaningless as rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Jesus said, "Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all." And that's an odd way of thinking. Our whole economy and social structure is based on being number one. We constantly push and shove to see who will be in charge and who will have the most influence. And we honor those folks who come in first. We put medals around their neck, rings upon their fingers, accolades for their accomplishments, and like rewards and statues, bonuses and prizes for their jobs well done, as in Pulitzer or Peace Prize, etc. All well earned in this our world, well deserved for the work they had to put in to accomplish their goal. But contrast this to the portrait Jesus painted by his own words. Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all. Greatness and servanthood both are attitudes that we are familiar with. They're natural to us. The first illustrates that to which many people aspire. The second illustrates that for which we were all created. One indicates our quest in life. The other exhibits our best in life. A mother celebrating her birthday was treated to a party by her family. Mom was told to sit in her favorite chair, and one by one the father and the older children solemnly presented Mother with her gifts on a tray as if she were royalty. The youngest girl, who was really too young to have much of a role in picking out the presents and gifts and such, and had been left out of the planning, but she rose to the occasion. She suddenly appeared with the empty tray, a Approaching her mother, she placed the tray on the floor. Stepping onto it with a childish joy in her mouth, she said, "Mommy, I give you me." Jesus, the only Son of God, has had everything and yet claimed nothing. And out of his unselfish service and obedience came our salvation. And he calls us to live and pursue a different kind of greatness. The greatness that comes from giving of oneself, comes from following after Jesus, comes from being a servant. Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all. May it be so. Amen.